Hello, everybody. This is Spilled Ink. I'm your co-host, Max Flowers. Brandon is again traveling, but this time for Buffalo Con. Last time he was gone for Heroes Con, which also happened to have Morgan Herron there at Heroes. So everybody say hi to our guest Morgan, and why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and yeah.
Yeah, what's up? My name is Morgan. I published Cosmic Line. I published with Cosmic Line Productions a book called Frankie Boy Monster. It's my all ages monster comic about a single dad and his son, who's a 12-year-old monster boy who gets into mischief. And yeah, that's what I do. I write, draw, letter, and color everything, and I kind of curate my own fun universe.
Awesome. Yeah. Frankie Boy freaking looks killer for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm in the same vein where like a lot of my stories I do everything myself. From
hmm
writing, lettering, colors, all the way through to book design and stuff like that. I do everything. So I definitely admire that.
Appreciate
We're
it.
also both some of the younger artists that are in the scene, um, which is cool. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been getting that a lot. A lot of um, people older than me have been saying, "Oh, wow, it's crazy that like you're 19 and you're in school and you're publishing. Like that's wild." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just doing what I like to do and what I think I'm meant to be doing." So,
yeah,
I
I
hope I
feel
don't
the
like
same.
yeah, I hope I don't intimidate anyone. That's not what I mean to do, but I'm just doing my
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I get the same kind of responses, and it's like I love the craft. I want to do
Yeah.
everything that I can to, you know, learn about it and make it better for everybody. So, I mean, I'm just doing my thing. If you think that's
Yeah.
cool, then that's cool. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So today we're gonna be freestyling some monsters. Morgan's doing Godzilla. I'm gonna be doing some sort of weird, you know, witch creature, and we're just gonna have a good time with it. We've got
Yeah, for sure.
Nate Price in the chat. Who else we got? We got
So,
Adam. What's up? Yeah, and anybody's feel free to draw monsters with us and
what's up,
post it up
Adam?
later. Tag us and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so like, what's your process? You do everything traditionally?
Pretty much minus letters and colors. So I pencil on tracing paper on my trusty light pad, as you can see on 9 by 12 tracing paper, and then I light box my inks so that so like the reason why I use tracing paper is just so I can be more efficient in redrawing things and getting as messy with the pencils as I can, so that when I ink on the light pad, I don't feel as much pressure to like get it perfect because all the work's been done and I don't have to erase and all that, and it's smoother cleanup in Photoshop.
Right.
So yeah, it's just an
Yeah.
efficiency thing. And if I need to repeat a panel, I can just redraw a panel. So kind of like
Right.
animation,
And
I guess you could say.
yeah, and why not like pencil digitally? Is it just like you just don't like the way it feels or
It's very abstract, and I don't know. It's just there's a certain amount of time I I don't know. It's kind of lost on me. I'm still trying to figure it out. If I ever make that transition, I definitely will. But I don't know. But also, like, there's the feeling of it, and you know, I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm not getting paid like a ton of money to do this. So it's also just a preference thing. Till I don't know. I'm forced to make that change. But
right? That makes sense.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I've tried and tried to do stuff digitally, but I can't get away from the way traditional feels for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's just it like the best way I've heard it described is like drawing and penciling digitally just feels too abstract. James Herron, funny enough, said that on a stream once, and I always figured out like how do I want to verbalize this besides it's hard, because like it's hard doesn't really cover it because there's multiple aspects that can be difficult about it, and it's abstract. it feels funny when I try to do it. Like I feel out of touch with that part of the process if it's digital.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and like if I don't even know what it is. It's like the way I draw on a glass screen is so much different than how I draw with like paper, which like could be just a mental thing, it could be practice, like I really don't know, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't come out right. It doesn't feel right. And the ability to zoom, I think, is a big part of it, that like it just doesn't work in my brain properly.
Yeah, and people say that like that's like the best part about it, and I don't. At the moment, it's not been worth my time to do that. I might feel that way later, but it's like obviously like we do a commercial art form, right? And time's a factor, and a fine art painter has a different way. You know, they want to spend their time, and it's different than how we spend our time. You know, we're drawing multiple images across multiple pages at a time, while a painter is just trying to get through that one painting. So at the moment, it's just the way I spend my time. It's just not been, it's not synced up how I kind of want to spend it in that set of tools just yet. So
Yeah,
if
I
that
mean,
makes any sense.
yeah, I'm right. It's just what you're faster at, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way. I'm way faster traditionally, and like
Yeah.
just forcing myself to sit down at a desk, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be way more focused and get more done that way than if I'm like sitting in bed with a show on my iPad.
Yeah, it's and also that's another 10,000 hours practice you have to put in outside of your work time, you know. And
Right.
like my quote unquote work time is my free time outside of school and hanging out with friends. So I'm doing this because I want to do it. So, you know.
Yeah. So how do you balance your time then? Because that's like one of the big things that I've been trying to focus on, right? Is just being more efficient with my time. Um, and
It
trying
kind of,
to
yeah.
create pages faster. So like,
Mhm.
I mean, you've already put out 3 issues of Frankie Boy.
Two
Or,
issues,
well,
three
two.
is, yeah.
Yeah, three's coming. But like at what rate do you have to work to get that done? You know, are you doing a page a day or like what are you doing?
it it kind of, this is probably not the answer you're looking for, but I have to roll with the punches, because every semester has had a different schedule mostly, so I have to like abide by that schedule, get my work done, also do my other commitments um, outside of school that isn't comics and art, so like other galleries, hang out with friends, other commitments I've made. So it's just like I try to evaluate what I have to do that week, and then when can I draw a comic or even like do a pinup for someone else's books, because that's also kind of slowed me down. Is like I've also made a bunch of fellow, you know, I've found my peer group, and I'm continuing to find more peers, and they're asking me, hey, like, can you do a pinup for my comic? You know, can you
Right.
contribute? And we'll do an art trade, which has been great. I'm not complaining at all, but I also have to, if that comes my way, I have to factor that into a week's schedule. But the first issue I did up front before I left for college, drawing and writing wise, like the whole thing was drawn and ready to go. It just needed to be colored and lettered, and I didn't have a scanner yet, so I had to go to FedEx and get that in. So yeah, till I finally, with some scholarship money, now I have a scanner. Now my process is 100% streamlined at this point, instead of it being like, you know, 85% streamlined. What's up, Sean? What's up, Mom? Thank you, Sean, for the compliment. I appreciate it. Sean is
um,
also an amazing artist. Just gonna
oh,
throw that out
awesome.
there. Yeah.
So did you get just a standalone scanner or did you get like an all-in-one printer scanner
Yeah,
unit?
I got an all-in-one like Epson Workforce 7820. My friend
Oh, okay.
Taraji, who does a book called Fourth Dimensional with Cosmic Lion, recommended it to me, and I believe that's also what Daniel Warren Johnson currently uses, or he used the most recent one after 7820, maybe, or before. I forget.
Yeah, it's an inkjet though, right? But it's the the fill up ones, right? I forget.
Mhm.
I have one. I have an Epson ET 8550, which is a large
Mm.
format photo printer. But it uses those ink reservoirs as well.
Mm.
Which I love mine. It's not it doesn't have an 11 by 17 scan bed, but I
Mhm.
freaking swear by this printer that I have. I love it.
Hey, what's up, Aaron? What's up, Eli, the Cosmic Lion himself,
What's
the
up?
main, the main man. I owe so much to Eli. If you're still listening, buddy, thank you for everything. He's really helped me figure out not even just publishing, but also the business side of comics, which is very hard for a young person to figure out on their own. So much
100%. So
much respect and love for that.
how do you go back and forth between artist brain and like business brain?
I feel like I'm forced to because, like, I don't know, like, ever since I was little, I kind of had that lemonade stand mentality outside of just making the comic. Like, I could talk your ear off for hours about what I'm working on. So that part came naturally, and I think some people have that personality or don't. But I still had to figure out how to use that practically in promoting my stuff. And Eli has helped me figure out how to do that more and more because, like, I mean, he does podcasting, right? So I've also done Instagram lives with him. And also I've watched plenty of his podcasts where he's interviewing creators, talking to creators and stuff like that, and plenty of other interviews, and stuff like that. So I I've had a wealth of knowledge to kind of learn from him and other creators as well that have done interviews. So
Yeah, I think that that's a super important aspect, right? Is like how because you're right. Comics is and has always been a commercial art.
commercial art form, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
always
about
been
that
like,
constantly.
yeah, and so it's like where do you draw the line? What what are you going to prioritize? And it's freaking tricky. It's
Yeah.
really tricky.
I know this might sound, I don't know, obvious or whatever. And so, like, if when I say it, people will be like, duh. But, like, when you actually have to actualize it, it's a little bit different. But, like, when I'm at the table, I get to be artist Morgan B. Herron. But when I'm away from the table, I have to be businessman Morgan B. Herron. Like, when I get up, I'm like, okay, so what's the faculty, like, part of it? Okay, scan the pages, prep the pages, download them, upload them into the Google Drive that I share with Eli, schedule meetings in my schedule, and let's design the book. I have to force myself to do that in order for anything to really get done. So
Yeah, and I mean it's right. It's like it's tricky because as an artist, it's like I just want to make my damn book.
yeah,
Like, I don't want to have to worry about all this other stuff.
absolutely,
So
yeah. I'm
yeah,
also competitive, so that helps. So I want to crush all aspects if that is the task. So I mean, because trust me, I could have just been like, like, I'll just drag my feet doing it and only, like, kind of halfway do it and coordinate with it. But I'm also very competitive, and not, like, toxically competitive. I have this conversation a lot with other artists where there's this healthy version of competition that's, all in good fun. It's pushing each other, it's iron sharpening iron. But, like, I ran cross country for 8 years, from middle school to
oh
high school
damn,
to my senior year of high school. So, like, I didn't get on varsity till, like, my freshman, no, sophomore, tail of sophomore, early junior year of high school is when I finally got on varsity. But even then, there's always someone better. There's always someone, who can endure for longer than you. So I've always had the fifth man on varsity mindset where, yeah, I'm on varsity, but there's the number 1 and 2 spots ahead of me, and I'm always chasing that.
right?
And I
Yeah,
even have that mindset now in comics because, like, I'm in Cosmic Lion. Like, there's Space Knights, there's Fourth Dimensional, there's all the other amazing titles in it. So I always think of myself as the fifth man on varsity and everything I
yeah.
do.
Well, it's definitely gonna gonna push you to think of it that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're always the one that's down and out and the underdog, you got something to prove, right? You're gonna work a lot harder that way than you would if you felt like top dog and you're like nobody can touch me.
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna lie, I went into art school kind of thinking that. I was like, oh yeah, I got picked up by a publisher my freshman year. I'm the stuff. And no, art school quickly humbles you, regardless if you got picked up by a publisher or not, because that's just not how the world works, you know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Which no, I'm totally cool with, and like I said, I'm past that now. And oh, thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. But yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
I've been art school has thoroughly humbled me. There's always something to improve, but you know,
it's good. It's part of learning, right? You know,
yeah.
yeah. If you don't know anything, you're gonna think you're the best. But if the more you learn, the more you realize I'm nobody. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a growth mindset allows you to keep going forward and not regressing or getting worse at your craft. Because that scares me more than anything is just not growing. Like I don't want to be stuck where I am for the rest of my life. Like that scares me, and that motivates me to want to go forward.
Yeah.
And like I think that's a healthy fear to have. Honestly, like I think it's good. And I think if you don't have that, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's just about
That's just
making
me.
what?
Oh, I was saying like that's just me at least, you know.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree. I think that there's a certain point though, right? That like, um, it's like that wake up and grind mindset, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you can't just do that. And I think part of what helps it honestly is like you have to kind of switch between your brains and go between your business side and your art side, which does help in comics. But
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna you're gonna burn yourself out, right? So
Yeah.
it's like
Oh yeah, absolutely.
you also have to pace because I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's
this,
a long-term game, not short-term.
right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, well, where do I draw the line? It's like, okay, this is too much right now. It's gonna make me not like comics anymore, or whatever it may be. Which I don't think. I mean, it's a pretty tall task to make me not like comics anymore.
Yeah.
But it's very easy for me to not like the business side of comics anymore. If that
Yeah.
makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like then that gets to a whole nother thing of like, okay, what is this? Like, do I even love the medium or the craft anymore? And that question, I think that's why that there's always that argument of art and commerce. And at one point, are you compromising your vision for profit? But then also, you don't want to die penniless, and you want to leave a decent legacy for people after
Yeah,
you. And yeah, that's something I think about constantly. And I I always stopped myself before I hit that wall of burnout. Like I've with issue 3 on the last 2 pages I drew, I could kind of feel it a little bit. But I managed to step back, take deep breaths, and step away, chill out, read something, go out with friends. And going out with friends at night has been very important for me in my mental health and development.
right.
Because if I don't have that, then I don't like have accountability, and then I'm left to my own devices, and that could go
Yeah.
very wrong very fast. That could
Yeah,
go very wrong.
if you don't have those voices of reason, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also just it's just healthy to like, yeah, I I take myself very seriously, and I take what I do very seriously, but I got to be a kid. I got to goof off and do stupid stuff within reason with friends, not like horribly
You gotta,
stupid, but like but just goof off and.
well, you have to make your mistakes and learn.
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think you're going to be doing that your entire life. Right? So you better learn how to bounce back from it fast.
Yes, Frederick, the Epson 7820 does scan 11 by 17. I just haven't done it yet. Uh, the reason why I work 9 by 12 is for many reasons. A, cost effectiveness, and B, I like being more concise in my drawing. I feel like if I don't have that extra space, I'm not wasting it, especially on pages.
That's interesting. I didn't know you worked on 9x12.
Yeah, even for my sequentials, that's why Frankie Boy Monster is printed at 6x8.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ever did like a 9x12 size for like, I don't know, a special edition, you'd be reading it 2 size.
Right.
Yeah. Which we're kind of talking about over at Cosmic Lion headquarters whenever we have the first 6 issues published, of course.
Doing an artist edition?
Not an artist edition, but like so obviously Frankie Boy Monster is all ages, right? I want this thing to be like the next Bone in libraries. I think that would really help I think it would help my legacy and my career trajectory if I had this thing in libraries at a certain point.
Yeah.
And also, like, I would love it and even just besides that, like, I want a kid to be wowed and love this thing long after I'm done with it and enjoy it. So,
yeah,
in the library,
I mean,
because that helped me a lot. A lot of comics I read were in libraries and stuff, like collected editions.
Me too. I still crawl through the library and find stuff.
Absolutely, so important.
Do you so what got you hooked on comics as a kid? Like what was the book?
Scott Snyder's Court of Owls when I was 12 years old.
Wow, that's a specific pick.
Yeah.
That's definitely a book that'll get you hooked for sure.
Yeah, because like the part where you turn it around was just so engaging, and like and when I read that, I don't know, I couldn't obviously verbalize that this was a different medium than say film, but I guess in my child brain I was like, oh, I want to be a part of this if this is what you can do with whatever this is that I'm experiencing.
Yeah, I love kind of like those formalist aspects, right? Of just people like being really creative with what you can do with the medium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope to maybe dabble in that at the moment. The most I've kind of done so far is, like I said, like my issues aren't standard size; it's 6x8. So
Yeah, my next book might end up being manga size. It's not a manga, but it might end up being manga size or like a half sheet size, a smaller format book. And then I'm probably gonna end up doing it as a double issue ish length. So somewhere between 48 and 60 pages per book.
Yeah,
so
my friend Ray's working. Oh, sorry.
So it'll be like a nice like pocket sized book, you know. It'll be a good carry.
Yeah, that's something I talked to Eli about. Frankie is like the issues are so travel friendly because like I was reading some of Marty. Do you know Marty Keene's work at all?
Maybe, I don't know. I'd probably have to see it and then I would know.
Steel Streets, Bootleg Spider-Man.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so his standard issues are 6x8. And I was taking them with me to classes and reading them, and I was still like reading what was new coming out. And I noticed, oh, I can take these to classes with me easily. And that's what kind of prompted also that size ratio is like the travel friendly qualities of it. Cause like you can be an adult and go to like, I don't know, the office or, be a college student and take it to class, or be a kindergartner and take this to the playground or whatever. Like that travel friendliness spoke to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been reading zines at work.
Yeah.
For that reason. Yeah. Cause I can just carry them with me really easy and tuck them away or do whatever. So yeah, I definitely feel you there. Yeah. The book I'm working on right now is, I'm doing the entire book 16 panel grid a la, Dark Knight. But I'm not really using Dark Knight as reference to like look at layouts, I'm just trying to figure out, well, how would I use a 16 panel grid?
Yeah. That's something I think about a lot too, is like, what's the difference between like emulating something and then absorbing something for influence and making it your own?
Right.
Because you can hand someone Dark Knight Returns, and like you can give two people a copy of Dark Knight Returns, right? And both of them are going to get completely different lessons from it. I mean, you know, the 90s comic era, I mean, everyone got different lessons from Dark Knight Returns, and then that became the dark ages, you know, of comics.
Yeah.
But then others that were more alternative and less mainstream got other lessons out of it. Like, oh, you can tell stories differently. It's not about it being like dark or anything. It's just you can be creative with how you lay out a page, and you can have motifs and themes. So you can hand someone the same lesson or whatever, but they're, one person can take the right lessons out of it and someone else can take the wrong lessons out of it.
For sure. Yeah, it's interesting to see what people take away. I mean, even now, like, you know, I think certain crowdfunding platforms have a certain type of book that tends to be on them, you know. And I'm intentionally being vague here, but and
Yes.
it's like why is that the case?
Yeah.
And do I want to really be on that same platform competing with those people,
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, Eli and I have a system where like people have asked me, "Oh, why haven't you done Kickstarter for Frankie yet?" And it's like because I have a streamlined process where I don't have to, and I'm not having to hassle him to help me with that. I would only use Kickstarter for a special purpose, not to just put out an issue. It just doesn't work for me personally, and it doesn't work for Eli in that way. I mean, I don't think he would mind kickstarting a single issue, but like we don't need to. Just the way we kind of
right?
have it streamlined.
Right. It's like why do it? You know.
Yeah,
Um,
and if I did it, I would have a better reason in mind.
yeah.
I don't want to say better reason in mind. It's just I have a different idea for it or a different goal to hit. In fact, I do want to do a Kickstarter for something hopefully soon, and the reason why I would be doing it is to hit a different kind of thing. So, or to get something out of it. So.
Yeah. So what is like the end goal? What are some of those big dreams or things that you want to hit? Is it Oh, hold on one sec. We're gonna pop him back in. There we go. What are some of those big goals that you want to hit?
Oh, I mean, I can't say anything right now. I don't want to get in trouble with anyone, but it would be, but ideally, I would be using Kickstarter like Rocco Jerome would with Ghost Agents. He
Yeah.
does those Kickstarters mostly, yes, to get a treasury-sized book, but to pay his artists that work on Ghost Agents. And
Right.
I like the idea of giving back to other artists that have worked with you. And I would want I love Mike Mignola's Hellboy, right? Like he has this whole main storyline. However, outside of the main storyline, he has this timeline where he can bring other artists on board to do their interpretation, and he pays them and invests in them. Like Mark Laszlo, he invested in James Herron, and all kinds of other guys, Guy Davis. So I hope to get to a certain point where I can invest in other artists, and I can see Kickstarter helping me do that as a college student if I wanted to invest in other artists.
Yeah, and then like aside from the Kickstarters, right? Like what are some big goals you want to achieve as a comic book artist, Like you want to put out, an omnibus? Do you want to just do an ongoing series? Like
Mhm.
like where's the and obviously there is no one single end goal, right? But
Oh yeah.
what are some of those end goals for you that you want
Oh
to
yeah.
achieve?
Oh yeah. Easy. Definitely like I want all of Frankie Boy Monster in its entirety ready to go as a as like one main storyline. But I, when all of that's collected, that's a great series Bible to pitch to say a studio that works for Cartoon Network. And something like that appeals to me. I can see like Frankie being a Cartoon Network cartoon, because like that's one of my influences, like that era of like Ben 10, Alien Force, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my work and stuff like that, like that's something I love, and I can see Frankie becoming that outside of the comics, and not even just like allowing my career's longevity to be, stretched uh, or grown, but to also, have this character accessible to generations of kids and parents. That's something I want for Frankie. Is I want this character who's a only child, well, not kind of an only child, and they're single parent, to appeal to kids and families across the world. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a monster goal, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that's your goal, you gotta go for it, and you gotta know like what the cost of that is, you know?
Yeah.
Um like because I'm in a different mindset, right? Less like because I'm opposed to your mindset and more just
Mhm.
because like my goal isn't to make a show out of anything I do.
Oh,
My
yeah.
goal, my goal is always comics. Like I
Mhm.
don't like obviously if somebody comes in with a fucking $1 billion check and like I'm it's hard to say no to that. But
Yeah.
but my goal is always to make comics, not to make shows or film.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. I mean, I love the medium for sure. And like for me, like I wouldn't want, like, even if someone who worked with Cartoon Network was listening to this right now and wanted to pick up Frankie, I would have to say no in the moment, because like it's not done baking yet. Like the main storyline is not there yet. I'm not
yeah,
where I'm not at the end of my storyline yet. I haven't even gotten to the point where that's in my reader's view yet. I've only been teasing, and soon I'll be getting to the point where we're going to be getting into the main storyline. Probably after 6, we'll be getting into the main storyline for real, for sure.
yeah. And so like how many are you planning to do? Like are you just until you stop, until
Just
it gets handed off or what?
just until the main storyline is fulfilled, and then maybe I'll come back and do like, I'll maybe have a different title called, like, I don't know, Tales from Frankie Boy Monster or something like that, so that like other artists can do like fun little one-off stories. But like basically it would just be like, just get the main, like it would be a finite storyline that's then collected in libraries, and yeah, it would just be like a finite storyline that
Right.
ends, and hopefully is a fulfilling reading experience when you sit down with that whatever the phone book is going to be at the end of the day.
I like that.
Yeah, because like
Uh,
that's what I love about like Hellboy, because like it ends, it ends, and it's satisfying, and you get to see the characters grow, and you fall in love with the characters as they grow, and like literally like you'd be with Frankie growing up with Dr. Fritz Lang till I decide to finally get to that main storyline and where it's done. And I want it to end organically. I don't want to force it to stop, but I don't. But like, there's a certain like beat I'm trying to get to so that I can kickstart the end. But I was gonna do that at issue 3, right, which is getting published right now. Now that goal that I'm trying to hit, where I'll be kickstarting the beginning of the end, so to speak, isn't going to be till issue 6 now. So the timeline also keeps changing, which is totally fine, because I'd rather it, I would want it to grow in its proper time. I think of it as like, you don't want to force a child to grow up so soon.
yeah.
That's kind of how I treat my book, is like, okay, my boy, so to speak, my boy monster will grow up when it's time for it to grow up. And that's how I kind of see the story, is like, okay, it will get to the end when it gets to the end, and I'm not going to force anything on it, not even for like money's sake. It's got to be a finite experience for me at the end of the day. It's got to end, or else it means nothing. It's a never-ending soap opera, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's how Danny Warren Johnson approaches his stuff too. You know, he does his one shot and then moves on. He's just got his one story to tell, and it needs to end. You know, but like, how much of that is like a thing of control for you? Like, recognizing that you really want control over Frankie and his story, and you don't want to give that up.
Yeah, that's a concern too, because it's like I wouldn't want to sell this to, say, an IDW and only they have the rights to it or something like that. Like I want my creator ownership of it. And even if that means I never get that Cartoon Network cartoon, when I first set out to do this, that was going to be a cherry on top anyways. It's only recent that that's become more of a goal. When I had that kind of in the back of my head, it was more, like I said, like a cherry on top. It sweetens the deal, if that were to ever happen. It's still pretty much that way, but now I'm like, I'm writing my first song now, right? And it's the Frankie Boy Monster theme song. I just finally finished writing the chorus just today with one of my songwriting friends.
Nice.
Yeah, and she's very talented, and she helped me figure out the rest of the chorus. And so it's ready to go now. And now there's a melody to it. And now I just, and now that's ready, and just notes on my phone. But again, like I also did that because it was fun. It was fun to make that, but it's ready to go if that opportunity presents itself,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that comics like does suit itself. Like I know I was talking before, like I wouldn't want to do a show, but I do think that comics does suit itself to like multimedia kind of things,
Yeah, and I mean, I love the intimacy of like reading a comic. Like you can't take that experience away. Like you just don't get that in film,
right? Yeah, but there's a lot to do with the medium still that's yet unexplored, I think.
Yeah, like gutter size in relation to when you jump between a panel, and like, what are you communicating there, and like how does that amount of time pass?
Yeah, right, which a lot of my understanding from of that comes from understanding comics and Will Eisner's essays, which I love reading that stuff and studying that stuff. And like to me, one of the most interesting things is like reader interaction, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a physical book, and because you have to turn the pages, and because you have to like, the reader is making so many decisions about the story as they're reading. That I feel like has yet to be like properly explored. Like I think that we can get readers to interact in ways with comic books that they haven't before.
Yeah, and I mean, like there's stuff like flip books and stuff like that where you can, like Monty Keene recently did a comic book about some of his alien characters, and they meet in the middle, and it's a flip book.
That's cool.
Yeah, like you can do stuff with that, like it'd be really cool. And like the Space Knight zine has like a triple page spread fold out that you then flip upside down, and you're being led down this gigantic tower down the panels as the mercenary is about to face whatever monster he's going to face. So I totally agree with that.
Have you read a lot of Dave Baker?
No, I haven't gotten into his work yet. I heard Mary Tyler Moorhawk is his best work so far, though. I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've been reading Dave Baker for a while now.
Okay. With Halloween Boy, or
even before that. But he does a lot of really cool things, and he's got so much love for the crafted medium. Mary Tyler Moorhawk really is a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's funny to say that though, because I know that like, Dave in his head is just like, this is just my book. You know what I mean? It's just what I like to do. Obviously, he's trying to do something a little bit more than that, right? Everybody is.
Yeah.
Trying to stretch the medium and do their best work.
And contribute to the conversation.
Right. So it's not to say that he did it as an accident, but at the same time, like you definitely like artists don't set out to make a masterpiece. I feel like,
No.
if you try to set out to make a masterpiece, you're going to fail.
Mhm.
It's like you just come across it. You just by being you, by chasing who you are, is how you're going to get to those like really impactful pieces.
Yeah, and I have this other story that's in me that is still kind of percolating and gestating. Like I was going to pitch that to Cosmic Line, but it's still not ready. And it's again, it's that is very much a very finite thing. Like Frankie, I it could be 20 issues and it ends, or it could be 50 issues and it ends. This thing is like, okay, this is going to be done either in a one-shot issue, or it could be just a one-shot kind of graphic novel. So I do have other ideas to use the medium. To its greatest effect. But that story, it's just taking a lot of time, and I actually just was writing some notes for it a couple of days ago after watching some documentaries and getting inspiration for it. And I had to. Brandon's talked about this a lot, but I had to live my life a little bit and gain some different experiences and ponder some experiences before certain elements of the story kind of revealed themselves to me. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we're only as good as like what we've experienced and know. You can't sit at the drafting table all day and expect to be the best storyteller.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I've learned a lot about storytelling from like my songwriting friends and my more musically inclined uh, group of peers.
Yeah, yeah, I've always drawn a lot from music.
I can't play, but I appreciate it. But that's why I forced myself to learn how to write this Frankie Boy Monster theme song, because I wanted to try something new and stop complaining that, oh, woe is me, I can't play the guitar. I wish I could do that. No, let's try and learn something and see if I can maybe contribute something, at least for fun.
Yeah, I was in bands in the SoCal area, um, playing shows and stuff. So it was I definitely was like, of that scene and learned a lot. Um,
Yeah. No, Aaron, there will
you-
probably not be a Halloween Boy and Frankie Boy Monster crossover, but hopefully there will be a crossover someday.
that would be a cool crossover. Have you?
I need to
You
read Halloween Boy. That's gotten my attention. Uh,
It's a
Recently.
cool series. It's also formatted really cool. It's a lot like well, it's a square bound book. Each issue is like a double issue square bound book.
Oh
Um,
wow, sweet. That sounds really interesting.
yeah, and so you get a bit better chunk of story than like you would a single issue, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then it's also like a pulpy science fiction story about like the patron of the impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, that. I mean, I'm sold on it. It's just I need the money, man.
yeah, I feel you there. I
I
feel
need the
that.
money. There's so many books I want to buy, and there's only so much I can get.
Yeah,
But he's definitely.
I visited California recently and I spent like way too much money on comics that I did
Yeah.
not want to spend, but I was like, this is my chance to get them while I can because I can't get them where I am now.
Hey, it's all good. Fun story from Heroes Con. Thanks again, Eli, for this. But like after like I was the best selling book at Heroes, at least. And Eli, feel free to correct me in the chat. But apparently, I was the bestseller at Heroes, and he rewarded me. I couldn't afford an artist edition. I've always wanted one, so he bought me the Kelly Jones Batman artist edition. And I
Oh man.
and I love Kelly Jones's work. Like
Yeah.
I there's some Kelly Jones isms in issue 3 that I'm pretty proud of. Not that I'm trying to like I didn't swipe him or anything, but like how like he'll isolate a figure and put some graphic textures behind it, like stippling or swirls and stuff.
Right.
I
Yeah.
tried my own version with let me pull those out real quick.
You know
This
what's funny is that he might have aped that from manga.
yeah.
That was a thing in manga for a really long time.
Where is it? Where'd it go? I had it. So for some of my more atypical textures that aren't hand drawn, I use stencils and ink.
Oh yeah.
Where's my? Where is it?
I try to avoid using any kind of straight edge or ruler as much as I can. Um, I use an Ames lettering guide, but that's pretty much about it.
Mhm. I can't find the particular one, but here's like People have seen my brick textures with white acrylic, and this is what I've used for that. You can get these cheap off of Amazon.
Ah.
Yeah, they're really great. Fun story about that is my mom bought those for me before I left for college, and I thought I'd never use them because I was trying to figure out what Jeffrey Allen Love did for his textures, and I realized, oh, it's white acrylic paint with a brayer on ink, and I didn't learn that till I accidentally did that myself in a 3D design class. Yeah, we used brayer to paint stuff for 3D design, and then I noticed there was these weird wonky textures, and I was like, oh shoot, that's what Jeffrey Allen Love uses. And then I got to meet him again at Heroes Con. He was like, yeah, no one ever figures it out, even though there's videos and tutorials online. I was like, yeah, I didn't find those till later. So
Yeah, and like Art Spiegelman would imitate like woodcut and lino all the time. That would be that was his thing.
It's always like interesting to like kind of imitate like art styles and crafts outside of comics. I would love to see more comics that look like ukiyo-e ink paintings. Like I think that'd be an interesting book, you know?
Yeah, I want to do and this isn't like anything new or groundbreaking, but I do want to try doing some painted pages for my next book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've been playing around with paint, and I've been kind of excited by it now that I'm not confined to what art school told me. You know.
Well, everyone says like the weird answer or the I don't know. I kind of find this answer to be kind of an I won't use strong language to describe this particular saying, but I kind of find it to be a load of malarkey. Is like, you know, everything's been done. Like, I don't believe that whatsoever. Yes, I don't know. Like, a lot of genres have been done, and a lot of ideas have been put out in the world, but like, there's a version of that genre or story that someone hasn't done yet.
Yeah, well, I think more at the end of the day, the real answer to that is that, of course, there is always something that influences everything, right? But just because it's influenced by something doesn't mean it's the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And that same goes with like a technique, right? Like, sure, Simon Bisley's done some cool painted comics, but Max Flowers hasn't, you know? Like, what does that look like? Like,
right.
What's your piece in the conversation, you know? Like, I want to see that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got their own stuff to add, for sure.
Yeah, because everyone has their own different idiosyncrasies, mark making, composition. Like, everyone does it differently by virtue of like their hand and then how they kind of process that information. Like, so no, not everything has been done. We are just getting started. It's just a lot has been done. Just, you know, try and contribute your piece to the conversation.
Especially in modern comics, dude. Like, the medium is so underexplored. Yeah, I think the medium is super underexplored.
Yeah, and it will be
for how long it's been around. For how long it's been around too, I think. Because it's always been about commercialism.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no room for. I mean, there is, but it's, you know, there's really not a lot of room for experimentation and commercialism. I think it's the answer.
Yeah, and I'll look at more avant-garde like comics, and I'll usually steal something from it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely value in like more experimental works. And it can always be used for something that's more commercially digestible. I know that sounds kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe a hack or a fraud would say that, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so I was fortunate enough to have this like really cool comic teacher in college who's this like French guy who was printing his own comics when he was like 12 using an offset printer, you know. And I was like kind of lost on where I wanted to take a project, and I emailed him and I was like, you know, like, am I pushing things too far? Am I like missing the point here? Like, what really is the point? You know, if I make something so off the beaten path, um, will anybody like even bother to read it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
his response was interesting, and he was like, "It doesn't matter because what matters is like what you want out of it, you know?
Yeah.
If you're gonna be happy making an experimental avant-garde comic that like the general public can't stand, but critics love,
Yeah.
and like, and you're gonna be happy, then do it.
Yeah.
If you
Absolutely.
if you want the general public's approval, then no, you should probably make something more conventional and appeal to that crowd, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or it like it's funny because my response to him was like, I don't really care to be either of those people.
Mm-hmm.
My care is like I want to just make what I want to make and not be
Yeah.
inhibited by, you know, the reception or you know, external forces and things like that. Like, I just want
Yeah.
to make the book that I want to make
Yeah. And
and
I
have
think
as
that.
much control over it as possible.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to what's the creator's goal with that. Kind of goes back to that.
Right. So it's like it's interesting. It's like you have to define, well, what does success look like? What would make you happy, you know? Are you
Yeah.
meeting those goals? Do you even care? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, right now my goal is just keep making cool, fun comics. Like it's that simple for me right now, and I'm okay with that. And also doing well in school. Do well in school, make fun comics, make fun art, get it out there, and just enjoy all of it, and be patient. I have to really tell myself that one because man, when I want to move, I want to move and I want to go. But I know, there's a time and place for everything. So just be patient.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a slow moving industry. At least that's in my experience. I mean, it's surprisingly both fast and slow, I think is a better way to put that.
Hmm.
Things can change really, really fast.
Does
But
Godzilla have spikes on his tails? That's what I need to know. Like the things that are on his
yes,
back and on the. I know it's on like this part of his tail, but I always wonder like if it's here. Is it anywhere near here? Would it be?
yeah. Uh-huh. It goes all the way down. Kind of
Okay.
like the dino plates,
Yeah, like
right?
a Stegosaurus.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering.
At least I think. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's freaking Godzilla. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, like I say, I think comics and art is the grand sum of its parts.
yeah.
You can look at the parts later and figure out, okay, how do I adjust this for next time? So that's what I think that's just my coping mechanism. But
Right.
it's
Yeah,
the only
so
way I get things done. Like that's the only way I get things done.
yeah, here's a question for you. Do you settle on your pages?
Uh,
If I can explain that more if that's too vague, but
Oh, I know what you mean by that, and my answer is absolutely. Yeah, I'm not in a position at the moment where I can be too picky. I have to get things done, but I'm now getting into a position where I can focus more on quality. Like these first three issues, there's definitely going to be some wonkiness, right? But now I can not slow down, but I can ease the pace and focus more on quality now, I think.
right.
But even then, it's like it's got to get done.
Yeah, and how much is that going to affect your production, right? If you say, "Oh, and I can afford more time on to spend on quality now."
Yeah.
What does that look like or mean for you?
I think for me at the moment, because of school, it just means it'll kind of be slower because I still have to juggle my life outside of comics and the comics. But I kind of had a taste for that anyways when I was making issue two, because issue two was being made during those first two semesters, and I would come back and fix things to the best of my ability, though there's still some wonkiness here and there, obviously. But it would slow me down enough to where I could change certain story elements and fix some things here and there that needed to be changed.
Yeah. Do you redo pages?
I've not done that yet. but I could definitely see myself wanting to say do so like the first short story. So issue one's just a collection of 3 short stories, a 10-pager, well, 2 10-pagers and 1 4-pager. I can definitely see myself for, I don't know, a later issue redoing the first ever short story, and then you know just for my own ego's sake, but also it'd be fun to see like, oh yeah, this is where I started and this is where I am now. That'd be kind of funny. But then tie it into its own little story. I could imagine redoing that first 10-page short story, and then like Frankie wakes up from bed, and then that we proceed into the real story. I think that'd be kind of funny to do. So it would be with maybe a storytelling purpose if I ever redid anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have 2 anecdotes on that, and one being that like Scott McCloud's Zot, he went back and redid stuff because
Oh wow.
he couldn't bear to leave some of the faces that he
Mhm.
had in there. So people do it, especially for earlier works, right? And then
Yeah,
my second anecdote for you is the opposite case, where have you read The Crow?
No, but I know you can like it. I've seen it. I've held it in bookstores, and I've just not pulled the trigger on it. And I can see James O'Barr's growth over time, and that's pretty beautiful to see for that story.
Yeah, that first chapter is drawn terribly, and I say that with all the utmost respect for James O'Barr because I love The Crow with all of my heart. But that first issue is not drawn well,
Mhm.
and he knows that. But it's not about how it was drawn. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's about that evolution of his. I mean that book is like his way of coping
Mhm.
with that was through that book.
Yeah,
So
it just so happened that it became a commercial hit somehow.
right,
Or I mean, not
right.
somehow, but like he met the right people, and it became a commercial hit.
Well, I do think that it wasn't just him meeting the right people. I think he wanted it to be. And I also do think that, like part of that is because that story is so real.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
that came from a real place. So to edit over that is almost like a disservice to what he was feeling at that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think for me though, it's more in like, okay, did I pay attention to what I need to fix the last issue? Like a basketball player like Michael Jordan rewatching footage of himself making the wrong pass or doing the wrong thing. I have my comp copies, so I can look back and feel the shame of, of what I've done, and
Yeah,
let that haunt me as I make the next thing. That's kind of how I see it. Actually.
right. But what's interesting about that statement, though, right, is that like those basketball players can't go back and play that game again, but better.
Yeah.
So,
But the
so in that
next
same
game,
vein, yeah. But I would also say in that same vein, right? Like you shouldn't go back and make that comic book again.
Yeah.
Even if you want to, I don't think you should.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you
What
should
I
just
mean is
put that
like,
energy into something new,
yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. Like, yeah, take that experience for the next issue. Like, I looked at issue 1 and I could feel the shame of what I did in issue 1, and I tried to do better in issue 2, and then now I'm doing the same with issue 3. And
Yeah.
now that issue 3 is done, I'm already kind of seeing some things I would change for 4. So though it's not as it never hits me as hard till it hits print. Till it hits print.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which, I mean, even then, it's like, I don't know. I think about this a lot where it's like, yeah, sure, I have a few gripes with it. But then, like, a reader's going to have a different experience than me seeing it.
Oh yeah, you've been staring at it for the last however many months. You know what I mean?
And you've grown since then. You've tried new tools,
Yeah.
come up with new methods. I think I can start inking this. I think I'm done finessing with the pencils.
Oh yeah, I've been inking.
Yeah. Yeah. I need to get through it.
I'm also working on a smaller piece.
Mhm.
Mine's 5.5 by 8.5.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, it's unescapable, You always see things that other people don't see in your work.
Yeah, I just take the shame of my failure and take it to the next project, you know. So, and I think that's perfectly healthy, I think.
Yeah, as long as you recognize that it's just growth, right?
Yeah,
It's not necessarily that you failed. It's just like,
growing pains.
yeah, you're gonna and your taste, the way that you see things is gonna far outpace um, your skill level, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
absolutely.
So, here's a question for you. Would you consider making a zine?
I've not had the opportunity to yet. It's not that I would say no. It's just like I got to find the time.
Right. Um,
Hmm.
because from my understanding, that's where Eli kind of came out of was was the zine culture in space in Southern California.
Yeah.
Um, and that comes with a certain attitude, you know.
Just
Um,
just do it. Yeah.
yeah, right. So it's like it'd be interesting to because zines don't take that long to make, right? That's part of it. You just do it. Um, so to sit down one weekend and be like, I'm gonna make a zine.
I am gonna
And,
make a mini comic that I can make myself. Here's a little instructional booklet on how to make a traditional mini comic, and I'm gonna make one so that I have free comics to hand to kids for conventions coming up, hopefully
I have
soon.
I have my how to make a mini zine too.
Oh,
I have
cool!
yeah, I made one already.
Very cool. Yeah,
I did a
I'll be
work
making one soon.
yeah, I did a workshop at a zine fest with some kids making them, which was fun.
Yeah, I want to make something free for kids. You know, if they can't afford the comics, which is
Oh yeah.
definitely a good thing. You know.
Yeah, I've got mine sitting somewhere here.
Yeah, and like the best part about a mini comic is like you can literally like if you think you can do anything with just a regular comic book, you can do absolutely anything with a mini comic because like if you're handing
Yeah.
them out for free, you could have say Frankie fighting the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is
Yeah.
copyright, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so here's the Bubbles mini zine. I don't want to go find my how to make a mini zine, but this is the Bubbles mini zine,
Oh man,
which kicked off Bubbles and like led us
I
to make the entire book.
I
Um
love those colors. I've been wanting to pull the trigger on Bubbles for a while because it looks gorgeous, man. You should be proud of it.
yeah. And then it's got a fold out spread on the back that continues.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, I love these things. They're awesome. Yeah, that's what actually what I really like about zines is that you're not like comics and manga kind of have their own set of rules and formats, but zines don't, which that's not to say that like you have to stick to like comic rules in order for it to be a comic, right? That's not what I'm saying.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is that like there are conventions and zines can like kind of cross the boundary and break those a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
or at least a little bit easier.
That's a weird line. Is like what are conventions and then what are rules and then which are you breaking, which are you bending? It's a very weird thing to kind of talk about and like yeah,
Yeah.
it can be a
Uh,
lot sometimes. I don't know.
yeah, but like you could go into every single comic and um add like an additional extra drawing and then like use tracing paper and do a layover for certain pages and like you could do stuff like that for every comic that you sell, but zines will just do stuff like that on a regular basis and make everyone unique and like just do weird stuff for the sake of being weird and limited. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
okay if you only sell one because that's the point was I'm playing with what a book is.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
don't
I
think you would do that for a comic, because it's more about the story.
yeah. I got a few from Heroes Con from Christopher Williams. There's this one called I Love Dracula's, and then there's this other one that he used a risograph on that I forget what that one's called, but like it's beautiful, and it's also playing with the format and how graphic you can get with those kind of formats, and it is very intriguing to look at. And like those, like I would have rather paid money for those, funny enough, than actual comic books on shelves. You know?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love anything risograph. I actually just figured out how to mimic a risograph using a laser printer.
Oh wow.
Um, so I was thinking about testing that out with like a print or something. Um, but I thought that that would be fun to try and do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly like a Rizzo printer, but it's a pretty close enough estimate.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience to like actually be involved in the production of your own books, like the physical product, you know. Like we hand sew every Rat Brain zine to bind it together.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
Siraji, the guy who does Fourth Dimensional with Cosmic Lion, he hand cut and stapled the original Fourth Dimensional issues, which are now pretty much gone. He only
Yeah,
has his comp copies at this point.
I still do that. I make little ash cans of my books.
Mm. Yeah, major respect to that. I mean, I can see that being very meditative, though, if you can carve out that time and have that time dedicated to that, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's depends on how many you make.
Oh yeah, that too.
But you could do it really easy with your printer.
Hmm. Yeah, whenever I get print, so I have ink, right? I just don't have paper to print yet. So whenever I'm ready to go with my mini comic, which I'm only kind of begun to pencil it, and I'm kind of just doing it in between other stuff. So it's like it's low priority, but when it gets done, it'll be ready to go. I'll print it off either here or my tuition pays for printing out essays and stuff and flyers that say my college campus, and I might just have them pick up that print bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Paying money to be here, gonna get something out of it more than just education.
yeah, no kidding. Um, yeah, and there's a lot that goes into paper stock options and like your printer settings and stuff. It's a big learning curve if you've never done it before.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who's like just getting their start in this, I've had to talk to Eli about that and trying to learn because earlier we talked about like being forced to be the business person aside from being a cartoonist. I was more ready to be a business person for comics than I was in with the actual printing side of it. So I'm trying to absorb that knowledge as much as possible, and more so than even the business part.
Right.
That's harder. That's actually harder for my brain to kind of comprehend. Actually, printing
Yeah,
terms.
or like
Yeah.
you like to use like really bright colors,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
in print it does not always come out that way.
Yeah. Some are darker. Some are brighter.
Well,
The
and like
most.
red is a very difficult color for like a CMYK printer to make, but if
Mhm.
you use spot color, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And the most recent print job we got for issue 2, I love how pretty much all the colors rested on there. The only complaints I had were just what I did on my end that I need to fix. So
Right.
basically, kind of the closest I could get to like on my screen has been printed through issue 2. So yeah, which was
Yeah,
really cool.
I'm just a nerd about all the printing stuff.
Yeah, I need to be.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Understanding how the books are actually made and what makes, the book appealing because I'm really interested in like the book as a physical product, right?
Hmm.
because you could have the best story in the world, but if somebody picks it up and is like, "Oh, this feels like garbage," nobody's
Yeah,
gonna read it.
yeah, absolutely. And book nerd talking, but I would like it if the ink on the book smelled nice. I like to smell my books.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Like for me, it's a big part of it is glare and shine, right? Um,
mhm,
like a even if you print on a matte paper stock, the toner itself that's being laid onto your book
mhm.
will actually give it some shine. And so it's like, okay, well, how do I mitigate that if that's not what I want? Or how do I exacerbate that gloss if that is what I do want?
Yeah.
Um, Most commercial books out there utilize like a spot gloss, which like is really not popular for like comic books, especially like indie creators, because it's like, well, why would I spend extra just for that? I'll just make the entire thing glossy.
Hmm.
But oh my god, like a good spot gloss done like really tastefully and well looks and feels so good.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I've seen it on the Mike Mignola's Bram Stoker's Dracula's adaptation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's just where like one part of it, like it's like all matte, and then
it's
one part of it is
ultra
like extra,
glossy.
yeah,
Yeah,
extra
yeah.
shiny.
That's what it is on here. I actually have it in the corner. I was looking at it one day for.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that adaptation. That I actually have. I've been on a weird Bram Stoker's Dracula kick. Like I watched that movie for the first time actually this year, and then I rewatched it again and thoroughly enjoyed it.
What
Um,
about Nosferatu?
I actually watched that my junior year of high school because there's like two or three different versions all for free on YouTube, and then I watched The Man Who Laughs this year, and that's probably my favorite silent film I've watched so far out of what I've seen.
Yeah, they're rebooting it.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers. It actually looks terrifying. See, I'm actually a cry. I mean, like, I love a good like monster movie, but like, I'm a crybaby when it comes to straight up like horror.
Oh,
So
really?
that
Okay.
might not be for me. Yeah, that's why like I'm doing an all ages monster comic, not straight up horror.
That makes sense.
Because like I like monsters and I like weird creepy stuff, but like I don't I like sleeping at night.
Right. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't relate though. I'm like die hard into like the scariest stuff I can find.
Oh yeah, I've I've watched your streams. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the weird esoteric stuff that it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
Um,
more power to you. Like I said, I like sleeping at night, so.
yeah, so I mean, are you wanting to kind of like stick to the all ages thing for
Uh,
like most of your
so
career, or is
n-
that just like
it
just for
it's
this book?
it's honestly strictly for Frankie.
Ah, okay.
I do have like I said, I have this other story that's just stating that is definitely not gonna be for kids. I mean, it's not gonna be like crass or anything, but it deals with something heavy subject matter.
Right.
Um, but it will be done tastefully.
Yeah.
At least that's the goal is to always, I don't know, do it tastefully. I don't want to be crass for the sake of being crass in my work, but that's just a personal thing.
No, I relate because I love all the stuff that is outlandish and like um really in your face and like generally offensive to most of the public, right? I do like that stuff, but my work is never intentionally that way
Mhm.
because at the root of it I want like my book to say something that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's all offensive stuff, then that will just get lost.
Yeah, yeah, because people will be paying attention to the wrong things
Yeah.
at that point, and they're like, "All right, I'm out. This person just wants to diss whatever I believe, or whatever." Yeah, I hear that for sure.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I don't know. Man, I'm freaking cruising on this piece. I'm trying to decide. I wanted to add some color to it, but I'm not sure exactly where I want to go with that.
Not sure if I'm going to finish this Godzilla on stream, but it's fine.
I've not finished plenty of pieces on this show.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes me feel better. I mean, I did want to draw Godzilla anyways, and this will look hopefully pretty gnarly once I add digital colors after the inks are done. So,
Yeah.
And also, like, I was hoping someone would hop on because I actually drew this just for a person. His name's Naved. I met him at Heroes Con. He's a very talented 14-year-old artist. And
very cool.
yeah, he got his portfolio reviewed by Daniel Warren Johnson. He's just very talented. He had a Dr. Doom painting that went for like more than my auction piece did. And it was well deserved. That wasn't pity money or anything. Like he's actually he's really good. Depending on what his goals are, I could see him doing pretty cool things for sure.
I hope so. I love having new blood.
Yeah, because I mean, don't get me wrong. Like most of the people I talk to that are into comics are older than me, and that's not a problem because like I can hold my own in like those conversations. But I would like to have a network of artists my age.
Me too.
Close to my age.
Yeah, and that's not to say that everybody out there is like an old fart either.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But
yeah.
I respect them just as
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
I respect them just as much, but
absolutely.
I also want somebody my age that I'm gonna like,
Yeah, like Brandon's only in his 30s, and like I vibe with him very well when we've met each other at cons. Like he's a blast, but I would like to see that there's some people in Gen Z making comics, please. Please. Please, well, if you are, hit me up if you're watching this.
Well, what's funny to me is like from my observations, at least, and going to my school and stuff, they're mostly interested in webcomic and not print.
Yeah, I don't understand that, or sometimes even just the opposite. They're not really taking it seriously. Like there's just, I don't know. I usually have better, more deeper conversations with people and artists that aren't even in my medium than artists in my medium.
For sure.
At school, which is bizarre to me because it's like, oh, what? I thought
you wanted this just as bad as I do.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I can have a good time, and there's a time and place for that. But like, I'm 19. For whoever's asking, Frederick. Yeah.
And I'm 23.
Yeah, so like we're close. We're the same generation, right? You're not
yeah
that window of not being in Gen Z, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, like I could be like a zillennial or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I'm realistically, like flash forward 20 years, I'm probably going to be a lot more in a Gen Z camp than I am a millennial camp.
Yeah. That's right, because Ray, the creator of Ghostman, who he's 26, about to turn 27. We just had this conversation. I just forgot. He said he is Gen Z. So yeah, that's not leaving the.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's not leaving the territory at all. But yeah, yes, if you're in Gen Z and you are a cartoonist or an aspiring cartoonist, please hit me up afterwards.
Hit us both up, dude. Like, let's do something freaking cool, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That extends to you, Max, for sure. I've been watching from afar, and I'm sure you have like Adrian Veidt, on a
yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna add. How long have we been going? What time is it? Let's see. I got 40 minutes. I can color this.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
So now the question is: am I coloring with markers? Or am I coloring with colored pencils?
Or
both?
You're working on Bristol, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I might do both, but then the question is, what colors am I doing?
I don't know why, but I'm imagining the witch wearing a green cloak for whatever reason.
Yeah. I was either gonna go like pink and green or like teal and orange.
Hmm.
Hmm. I think I'm gonna do that pink and green.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see what I can do.
Do you have like
I
a
have,
go-to monster you like drawing, or?
oh yeah, of course, skeletons and vampires
Yeah,
typically.
yeah,
I've always loved vampires.
yeah. Well, then you'll like Frankie issue 4 whenever we have that
Oh, good.
roll that's currently in development.
Yeah. I love 30 Days of Night. I think
Mm.
that's like my preferred vision of a vampire, right? It's like just an animal.
Mm.
Um, rather than like the refined, like regal vampire.
Mm. Yeah, I'm somewhere in between where I kind of imagine it as like you can transition between both.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, for sure.
yeah.
Um, never been a big werewolf fan. There's two things that I think are really hard to pull off successfully or like just like haven't been like pulled off to that elevated level, and that's werewolves and witches.
Mm. Well, what do you think of like Wolves of St. August by Mike Mignola? You ever read that?
I haven't. I'm more thinking of like film, but
Fair enough. Yeah.
I know vaguely like what Mignola's done with werewolves, and I do like it. I mean, I'm a huge Mignola fan, so I love the way that he draws werewolves.
Yeah.
Um, but they're hard to like
Yeah, in film
pull off
it's
well.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna start with these and see what I can do. I haven't played around with actual color in a long time.
Mm.
Yeah, and witches tend to become like too campy, you know.
Hmm.
It's hard to do a really good, actually creepy witch.
Have you tried the brayer technique that Jeffrey Allen Love does? Like do you like Jeffrey Allen Love's work at all?
I haven't, not because I don't want to, but just because I haven't had like the use case for it.
Hmm.
Um, I mostly do the Jason Sean Alexander toothbrush spray.
Mm.
Yeah, that's my preferred texture adder.
Hmm. Yeah, I the reason I asked is I tried it today on a piece. This is a commission I'm doing for Lance, friend named Lance, and it's onslaught with an orb of whatever energy he wields.
Uh,
Because like onslaught's part like Magneto's pure rage for humans to be wiped out, and Professor Xavier's telekinetic abilities and such.
yeah,
So
yeah.
whatever energy he has there, yeah.
There's so many different ways to add texture. You know,
Yeah.
um, like um, have you played around with traditional screen tone?
Yes. Actually, I have something taped up on my wall that I look at. Is this little sketch card of the the monster himself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I like the 30% shade the best.
Oh,
It's not,
yeah.
yeah, if I'm just using one tone, but if I'm using multiple, 10%, 30, and 50 are good. The only thing is like, I don't know. It's expensive. I actually have a
Oh,
friend who
yeah.
went to I have a friend who went to Japan, and I asked him, "Hey man, like, here are what screen tones look like. Please, 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 if you're in a store and you see these things, pick up the 30% sheets for me, please." Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so expensive here.
And it's cheaper there, and bigger sheets.
Yep.
Yeah. It's annoying.
Yeah, I want to get my
Criminal.
hands on some of the ones that fade, like
Ooh.
the
Gradient.
gradient patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used those at all because I don't know, I'm allergic to gradients. I
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like I've read so many reprints of like just gradient coloring where I just my tastes just reject any and all gradients. Well, okay, I shouldn't say any and all because there are good tasteful gradients being done nowadays, right? But like still, like I only think of the bad kind, so like I just don't really do them myself.
Right.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember you talking about like you really not liking like airbrushed stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so like I understand then your reaction to
I'm a graphic snob elitist.
yeah. I understand the
Apparently,
reaction,
apparently, yeah. Gosh, the people watching this are like, "Oh man, this guy's a pretentious art student. I'm out. I'm done with this guy. Done with this guy.
uh,
We're done with him." No, and I mean, like, any I like I said, like Brandon and I have talked about this plenty of times, like on the podcast and off, like whatever you're into, you're just going to be influenced by and you're going to connect with. And it's not to say that like even that method is totally invalid. It's just your tastes. And there's a difference between being good at the fundamentals and your tastes.
yeah. I mean, and like we both grew up looking at a certain style of comic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like our immediate reaction is like, ew, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
which is funny because like the way I look at it, right, is like the image guys were like ew fuzzy halftones and like bold line art and stuff like that. Now that we have better machines, let's do really, really ornate stuff with all these like perfectly flat colors and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Rendering, like tons and tons of rendering.
Yeah.
And
They got allergic to what they were brought up in. Yeah.
yeah, and then we grew up reading their stuff or like the other modern comics that are like flat computer colors and over rendering.
Yeah.
And we're like, ew, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and like I have to like force myself because like as much as I love Mike Mignola, I try not to be exactly like him. Like I try to analyze and look at what he does well, but just put that in my stew and not try to be a clone of him.
Right.
There's a difference, and I've talked about this, but there's a difference between copying the surface elements and absorbing the way of thinking. And like I try to absorb his way of thinking, but like I do things like other different textures and grays that he doesn't do and stuff like that because like I don't know why he doesn't do it. Doesn't really matter. He just doesn't do it. And for a long time I didn't want to do my own other textures and grays, and that was holding me back because in my head I was going, well, he doesn't do it and he's one of my favorites. He's one of the best, so I shouldn't do it. But then I realized, oh no, I have license to do it. It's just, you know because
You gotta find it.
what's the point of being his clone? I should just
Right.
take what he did well and then take what other things that I like and see if it works out.
Yeah, he's got enough clones working for him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's not to say I wouldn't want to work for Mignola, but I do want to be my own guy at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that.
but that doesn't mean there's not wisdom in his approach that is worth studying, because it totally is.
Oh no, I know. It's because of my light. Yeah, I was trying to fix it. Wow. Oh, there you
Miss you, Brandon. Much love. I wish you could be here too.
go.
I thought about drawing Spawn just for you, Brandon. Just for you. But then, nah. Maybe next stream when if we I know we want to do another video, and I was talking to Brandon at Heroes, like we should do like a value course, because that's something y'all haven't done yet, is like
Right there.
study value and how that can affect your composition. I think that would be worth doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Have you?
yeah.
What's your rule of thumb, or like?
I don't know if I have a rule of thumb, but I know. I don't know, because like I'm still trying to feel it out. But I just like, I don't know. There's a certain amount of gray that I feel like can unify with even like digital coloring, and that's kind of why I do a little bit of hatching here and there, because like I like a smooth like kind of transition with that.
Right.
That's kind of how I use it. But like standalone black and white image, I also see it as a graphic device for clarity. And you can play with how it looks in like in like the foreground and middle ground and background. I don't know if I really have any set in stone rules, but I think as long as like you have your composition nailed down, you can figure out like, okay, so what's my focal point, and then how did the grays lead me to that focal point? I think
that makes sense.
Worth doing a video on, at least. I don't know.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were like, I operate under like the 5 shades of gray rule, like Matteo Scalera does, or like.
No. Because like I said, like I do color my stuff, but like if I do a standalone piece, it is kind of different. I don't have that, but that's definitely not a bad rule to put on yourself if you do want to learn that. So we could do that as like a demo, and I can switch my way of thinking and do that. That'd be cool. I'm down for that, regardless.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff you can explore and do.
Yeah. I was thinking though, like I could to make Brandon happy, I could draw Spawn in a graveyard, and that can be our value study. Because he loves Spawn and he loves McFarlane, so
yeah.
Me, I have a weird relationship with the Todd father. I don't know.
Me too. I'm not a huge Spawn head or anything like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't our era, and I'm not saying that to like invalidate anyone who is a fan. Like I would never be that guy. I don't want to be that jerk, But like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't lie and say I'm a fan, because I'm not, but I do admire him for a multitude of different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, you like what you like, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to fault you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because there's too many people in this world that do that, and they don't know the. Yeah. I mean, you can playfully roast, but then there's a point where it's like, all right, like chill out, man. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Come on. Like, move on.
I don't know how this is working out with the color.
Hey, thanks, Ian. Really appreciate that. Mr. Cinco himself. I actually was just rewatching your live sketch cover
awesome.
video with him. Yeah, today to kind of get prepared for this, and also to have work noise.
Yeah,
because I was working on some stuff, so like the commission.
Do you usually need some sort of noise, and then like what is it? Is it usually just shows and podcasts, or?
Yeah, it is usually shows, TV shows, and podcasts. It used to be music. I think I might go back to that. We'll see. Not that I'm like distracted, but there's a certain point where I'm like, all right, I got to find the next thing. It would just be easier to just let the music go and then replay, so I don't have to mess and find a new show or whatever, because it would just be music replaying or whatever,
Right.
So I might go back to music, but we'll see. But like also like kind of absorbing information as I'm applying my own practice, or just having something on for noise, like something fun also in the background.
Right. I'm the same way. It used to be music. Now it's more shows and podcasts and stuff.
Yeah, like the Ink Pulp podcast has been great and full of like
Yeah,
gems of
100%.
knowledge. Love it, love it. And I got to meet Sean Crystal at HeroesCon. It was
Oh,
phenomenal.
awesome.
I got a really good portfolio review from him. It was phenomenal.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. He had
I
very nice
don't,
things to say, and he told me what I could do better. And yeah, it was phenomenal. And I also met Zoe Crystal, who is within our age range. So, and she definitely wants to stay in contact and whatnot. So, because she's trying to get into comics. So, yeah.
nice. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I don't think I really want to color her skin all that much. Maybe just like some value here and there.
So I didn't really catch what you were inking with, just because I was kind of focused on my piece and talking.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ink with a parallel pen this time around, or did you only use it a few times?
No, so I've used a parallel pen for a really, really long, well, not a really, really long time, but I love that tool. I've used it a lot. But I was inking with my tool before the parallel pens, which is a Kuretake number 13.
Mm.
And the tape on there is because I have three of these. I have one that's a dry brush, one that's their manufacturer's ink, and then this one is it's got an adapter in it so I can run my own ink through it.
Yeah.
And it's completely refillable. I love this brush pen. It's great. I have a love-hate relationship with brush pens though now
Yeah.
because I find that when I'm especially doing a smaller piece, it's much harder to get those details in.
Yeah.
Versus a larger piece, you can really play with the fact that it is a brush. But
Mm.
a brush pen, you can do a lot of really cool things, right? So like you can get like dry brush halftones like down here in the leg, and you can um, play with these warbly lines that are almost like stick feeling.
Mm.
It's terrible to do for this kind of stuff where this like lantern is going and like casting these lights, right? It's
Yeah.
really bad for this stuff. This I should have used a nib for or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sort of set in my tool kit because I try not to. I mean, I have been experimenting with other stuff lately. Like I've been using Pilot parallel pens for certain marks now, but I usually try to keep it to like a certain amount of pens and point sizes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you use static pens then, like
Yeah.
mono lines and stuff.
Microns. Yeah.
Um,
And Tombow brush pens for my bold graphic lines.
nice.
Yeah. And I use them straight on the edge so that they're very, very nice and graphic.
Do you so you use microns?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't use the other one?
Yeah, I use the 03, 05, 01s, and 08s. And occasionally, if I'm running low on the 01s, 02s, but yeah.
I for some reason I just can't stand microns. I love static pens, but just not microns.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I always break them, and I also think that they run out of ink really really fast.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, you can wear them down depending. I take it you're heavy-handed then.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I just kind of lean into that and hope for the best. In all honesty, that's my approach to that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I get the bent nib, and then I like have to like use the bent nib strategically or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Oh man.
Okay. I'm gonna grab colored pencils now.
Sweet. Yeah, I just I don't know why, but as we were kind of talking a little bit about inking tools, I was staring at my Godzilla and I realized, oh yeah, shape is something I love paying attention to when I draw anything. Like shape is just I'm more obsessed with that than, well, I don't know. So like I'm obsessed with lighting and shape design. Like those are my two things that I borderline fetishize over when I'm drawing. And so we could also like do a course on shape language and how that affects what you draw, you know.
Yeah, actually, Brandon was just talking about that.
Yeah, I would
What
definitely
we
be down to do that or value for sure.
Yeah. Um, I've also got a show that's gonna be starting with CWS at some point. It's not fully revealed yet, but it's gonna be like instructional,
Oh, sweet.
more instructional and educational. So might pull
Awesome.
you on to do something with that too.
That'd be great, and I can share just what I've learned so far. Uh,
Yeah.
for anyone listening, I may sound confident in myself, but I'm still learning a lot. So, but that's something there's some things that I've takeaways I've gotten that hopefully I can verbalize and share without sounding
Well, that's
ignorant.
part of it, right? Is that I'm just a comic creator doing what I can to learn more about my craft, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
as I'm learning, I want to share that with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you can only help yourself to a certain point. There's got to be a point where it's like, okay, it's not just about you and what you're getting out of it. Let's share with other people. Let's invest in others. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
As much
So
as oh
you color digitally, right?
yeah, in Photoshop, I use the polygonal lasso tool. That's what Dave
Yeah.
Stewart uses for Umbrella Academy.
Yep.
Yeah, love
So
it.
but have you played with like traditional colors at all or not really?
Yeah, I love painting. I tried to paint more this summer, but just with issues and now the new day job, it's been difficult. But now that I figured out that brayer technique, I want to do maybe a series of black and white paintings, value studies of maybe the universal monsters. I think that'd be pretty fun, and that would give
Yeah.
me, that gives me, a set of rules. Okay, it has to be these figures, and then, study value in paint, and also I could learn a lot about texture and how temperamental it can be, and but also still being pretty expressive, but figuring out like, okay, what's the ratio of value when using these tools. But yeah, painting, like I used to be allergic to painting, but art school beat that out of me too. So I don't mind busting out a gouache kit, and I actually loved watercolor for a bit before I even got to MTSU. So
Do you do they make you do a lot of painting in your program?
at the moment, it's like the foundation, so like 2D design, 3D design, drawing one, drawing two. I'll be taking drawing two next year, and I finished up 2D design, 3D design, and drawing one just these last 2 semesters.
Right.
But there was definitely painting in both 2D and 3D design because they want to see like your paint handling and they want you to track your progression in
Huh.
that. So at first it was like pen and ink and 2D design. Then we graduated from like pen and ink to then painting and value studies and painting and designing with that. And it was definitely fun. Other times frustrating. Needless to say, the only time I got the top spot on crit day was pen and ink.
Yeah.
Because like I have my 10,000 hours practice, and I made a group. If you go back to my Instagram account, you can find this Groot drawing I did that I'm still really proud of, and I hope to sell it at some point. Um, and it's this value study of baby Groot growing out of a pot. And the
So
story
cute.
behind that was I found this broken 3D model of Groot at my school's library just sitting there, and so I just snapped pictures because hey, free reference, and so I saved it for a rainy day. And then that rainy day was an assignment in 2D design. And then I just did a value study of that, added some artistic liberties, of course, like the roots growing out of him and him growing in the pot and whatnot. And I got top spot on crit day, so that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. After that, no, no top spot, but close enough, But it's okay. I learned a lot, so that's all that
Yeah,
matters.
I was fortunate enough to not have to do a ton of painting in school. Um, I did a little bit of acrylic painting in my design course, and then took like an oil painting class that was mandatory. But painting has never been my thing. It's always been about, pen and ink to me.
Yeah, I
Um,
used to be that way till my old high school art teacher, Mr. White, helped me find an appreciation for it because I would have failed this class if otherwise. But
yeah. So now when I'm exploring it on my own, and I've mostly been watching David Finch, painting stuff, to
yeah,
learn, and that's inspired me, and I've gotten a lot from that.
yeah, he's leveled up with his paintings. Like I hate to
Oh
say
yeah.
this, but I like them better than his pen and ink work. I hate to be that guy, but I actually kind of do. It's pretty fantastic stuff. I don't know.
That's funny. I mean, yeah,
Not dissing him at all. He's a fantastic draftsman, and
no, I feel you. I get what you're saying.
But yeah, he unlocked something there that I don't know. It'd be cool if we saw interiors with those techniques. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, and he learned other things that he can use to help someone else. On those streams.
Yeah. Well, I think what's important about what he's doing now is that he's learning, right? He's
Yeah,
he's been in the
absolutely.
industry for how long, and
Yeah,
he's still trying to learn and
yeah.
figure stuff out. Like that's really
He's still hungry. He's not lost that.
right.
Yeah, I'm always hungry, both literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I'm doing much more on this piece.
I still got line work and then value to do, so it's
I
fine. So
I think I think to be honest with you, that alien piece that I did last week,
yeah.
that kicked my butt and made me so much faster.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a huge 11 by 17 alien that I
Yeah.
did. And so
Yeah.
trying to finish something that detail heavy and in that size in 2 hours was crazy.
Yeah. I was impressed by that. That was definitely a feat. There's something to be said. I mean, it's this weird conversation of like, do you draw faster when you draw huge, or do you draw faster when you draw small?
Definitely small for me, obviously.
Yeah, but then there are other people that can really crank him out at 18 by 24
Yeah.
or 19 by
No, true.
24.
Yeah.
Which it's not even that I'm intimidated by it. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure people are surprised with how like bold and graphic my shapes are that I don't draw bigger or I don't draw. But like, I don't know. Like, but also, again, cost effectiveness on my end is why I work on 9 by 12.
Right. You are using Bristol then, right? For everything?
Yeah, Canson Bristol board. You can buy like a pack of 50 for like $20. Then like the the Master's Touch stuff you can get for like $10 at Hobby Lobby or whatever.
Man, that can get expensive though. Using
Yeah,
actual Bristol.
yeah.
We're gonna try and add a little bit of white out without freaking this whole thing up.
Like I said, I found a more cost-effective way to do it. So
Yeah. I use 11 by 17, but I don't use Bristol. So
watercolor paper or
nope.
printer paper, marker paper.
Yep. Printer paper, but just really, really heavy weight. I use
Yeah,
it's about 200-300 pound printer paper.
yeah. Madi works on watercolor paper, 18 by 24, and then he'll cut it down to like 12 by 18.
Yeah. Watercolor paper is even more expensive.
Yeah,
But I mean, whatever floats your boat, right? To me, it's like I can get a pack of 200 pieces of paper, right? That's 200 pages for like less than $20, and it's just as good as Bristol, pretty much. It's like the same weight, really, of paper.
also your time management of how you draw on that paper also affects that and how frequently you do it.
Yeah, Yeah, because I used that paper for a lot of stuff. Oh, that needs to be darker. I missed that.
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't mean to take my Godzilla out of view for our patient viewers, or very patient viewers that are not going to even see me finish this probably.
This needs. And then I'm going to do one more.
I'll definitely finish this and post this at some point. So it will get done, just not on stream more than likely, which is fine because I've watched a few of y'all's streams. I know that there are times where you don't finish something, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like, man, Brandon DePillis, that guy's a beast.
Yeah, I love Brandon.
And the fact that, like
Brandon
you said, the fact that he liked my work on stream was an honor. So
okay. All right. Well, I just finished, and I do got to get going. We got a plane to catch, but let's highlight what we did and then plug our stuff and get out of here. Does that sound good to you?
Yep.
Cool. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first. Let me grab something real quick.
All right. The last minute touch-ups. I feel you.
Yeah, you're good to go.
Cool. There's my witch. Fully colored. Let's see if I can get some better lighting on here and maybe lift it up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Dude, this lighting setup sucks. That's okay. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. It's creepy, it's cool, it's different, it's weird.
I dig it. Yeah.
I had fun playing around with color for the first time in forever, so that was awesome.
It's a triangular composition. I'm obsessed with that.
Yeah, and it's the diagonal too, right?
Yeah.
That's
good stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with it turned out.
Absolutely.
Let me do the obligatory plug. You can get Bubbles on lesserknowncomics.com right now. It's a one-shot psychedelic queer horror book about two queer kids trapped in a motel room covered in black mold, and they have to try and not go crazy, basically. So this is the standard cover. We also got the variant covers by Nicole Gu and Life on Saturn. And then you can also get the process zine, which is how we made it. It's got scripts, insight into what we were thinking, raw scans, layouts, all sorts of cool stuff in there for you to check out. And all that's available right now on lesserknowncomics.com. All right, Morgan, you're up.
For sure. Also, before I start my plug, if you want to look at my screen, this is one of my favorite parts about having is turning it off. Boom. It looks so weird when it's unfinished, but it's so clean. Sorry, had to show that off. So you can buy Frankie Boy Monster issue 1 and 2 off of cosmiclineproductions.com. Issue 3 has we've wrapped up production on that, so now we're just going to be designing the book, and we'll be announcing the release for that soon. Yeah, and you can find me on Instagram at Heron_art and on Facebook at Morgan B. Herron. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. InDesign is your friend, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. That's what we use to design our books for sure.
I use off-brand InDesign, but anyways, it was a pleasure having you on, man. I can't wait to see how this piece gets finished up.
For sure.
It looks great, and I'll catch up with you. Catch up with you soon. Catch up with everybody soon. All right.
Sure.
Thank you guys, and stay inspired.